Negro Leagues had its fair share of dominant pitchers. The likes of Satchel Paige, Leon Day, Bullet Rogan, Hilton Smith. The list goes on and on and on, even though the Negro Leagues doesn't get nearly enough credit for the great pitching that was part of this league. But one of the more unheralded pitchers, great pitchers, was the mighty Matlock, Leroy Matlock. Born in Moberly, Missouri, would go on to become one of the Negro League's top left-handed hurlers with great stuff who just relished in playing the game. What I admire about Leroy Matlock, number one, he was one of the league's smartest pitchers. He didn't have the dominating, overpowering fastball like a Bullet Rogan or a Satchel Paige. He relied on pinpoint control and change of speed to keep hitters off balance. And the crafty left-hander was able to get guys out, and he did it for a long time with guts, control, and guile.
We go to the bottom of the first. Here's the second baseman, Waters. The pitch.
Leroy Matlock kind of flew under the radar as a pitcher, but there's a good reason that Cool Papa Bell called him one of the most underrated pitchers in the league. He could dominate any lineup on any given day, and he used every inch of his natural ability.
Got him looking. That's a strikeout. Reese digs in now. Fastball for a strike. Reading up on Matlock, he comes across as a guy who is the opposite of Satchel Paige. Didn't seek the spotlight, wasn't a showman on the mound, but still a tremendous pitcher and ball player. He once said, "I'd rather play baseball than eat." Fights that one away, and the count remains 0-2. And down on strikes he goes. Matlock off to a nice start for St. Louis in this one. Marshall stands in now and watches strike one.
It's always interesting to see how Negro League stars performed against teams of white players. Well, in his prime, Leroy Matlock went 2-1 in 6 games against the white all-star squads and allowed less than 3 runs per 9 innings.
Swings and misses. And he strikes out the side in the first. Quite a matchup here as Turkey Stearns digs in for Detroit against Matlock. Matlock back to work. In there at the knees. Chris, you brought up Leroy's performance against the white all-star teams. He once outdueled Dizzy Dean and dominated against Hall of Famers Jimmy Fox, Rogers Hornsby, Johnny Mize, Paul and Lloyd Wainer, and Bill Terry. That's an unreal level of competition. Matlock racking up the Ks now. That's number 4 in this game. And now here is Taylor. And that drops in for a strike.
One of those games against white teams, Boog, was a complete game win for Leroy and the St. Louis Stars, where he held 3 future Hall of Famers to 3 combined hits. Sadly, it was the last ever game for the St. Louis Stars.
Strike 3, and that's 2 in a row. And now Gardner. Fastball for a strike.
0-1.
Swing and a ground ball, and that one handled. Throws to first in time. 3 up, 3 down, inning over. Set for the bottom of the third. Now the left fielder, Harvey.
It's 0-1.
Pulled hard, but it's a foul ball. Matlock wheels and deals. And a swing and a miss. Leroy Matlock continuing to mow down these Detroit hitters. Bell in the box now. No balls and a strike. Still tied at 0. Last of the third.
That's a ball. That's inside.
Got him. And he's up to 7 strikeouts. Stepping in, Phillips. Strike one.
0 balls, 1 strike. Two.
0-2 now. Makes the grab, and that's the inning.
If you want to draw a major league contemporary comparison to the mighty Matlock, think Greg Maddux.
Maddox continues with a strikeout in every inning.
That same kind of surgical pinpoint control without the overpowering fastball.
Matlock played with me, and he could throw that ball any place he wanted. He's one of the few pitchers that I could just truthfully say they had perfect control, and he did.
When Leroy Matlock was squared off against opposing hitters, he was playing chess while they were playing checkers. And Leroy seemed to always win those chess matches, keeping them completely off balance. His ability to change speeds actually made his fastball seem faster than it actually was, baffling them with stuff that probably had them turning, going back to the dugout, wondering, how in the world did I not hit this dude? But they couldn't touch him.
All right, ready to go here. And now the right fielder, Smith. There's the strike up high, and we're underway.
0-1.
And a swing and a miss there.
Other players consider Leroy Matlock the smartest pitcher in the league. The only other Negro Leagues pitcher who came close to Leroy's level of control and command was Bill Foster, and he's in the Hall of Fame now.
Hughes now at the plate as he swings through strike one.
No ball, 1 strike.
Not a lot of pitchers after Greg Maddux and Pedro Martinez who have that kind of elite command. Zach Greinke, CC Sabathia, and now George Kirby are really the only ones that leap to mind.
Strike 3, and that's 2 in a row. 2 down, bases empty. Here's the shortstop at the plate. Murray right through there for a strike. Chris, what is it about a pitcher with incredible command that makes it so difficult for hitters?
Well, I always found that they're always thinking one step ahead of you. Usually they lack the velocity, but their execution and their location is so on point that they're just difficult to square up.
2 outs, bases empty. Got him. Strikes out the
Ironically, that 35 Pittsburgh Crawfords team, widely regarded as one of the greatest of all time, had the legendary Satchel Paige as a member of the team, but Satchel left early on in a contract dispute, and that made Leroy Matlock the ace of that pitching staff, and he dazzled. Leroy Matlock, between 1935 and 1936, ran off a streak of 26 consecutive wins, including an unprecedented, undefeated season in 1935. In Game 3 of the 1935 Negro League World Series, Matlock took the heel and promptly shut out the New York Cubans to help the Pittsburgh Crawfords win the 1935 World Series.
All set for the start of the inning. Now it's the second baseman, Little. Matlock back to work.
That 1935 season of Leroy Matlock's is unbelievable. His ERA for that year was more than 3 times as good as the league average. That's even better than what Pedro Martinez did in 2000. Incredible.
Swing and a miss, struck him out. Strikeout number 8. And now the switch hitting catcher, Smith. A couple years later, Matlock was called the Black Carl Hubbell in some promotional material. Hubbell won 24 straight in 1937 for the New York Giants, or 2 fewer than Leroy did across 1935 and 1936. That is truly amazing. And now the first baseman, West.
Here's how dominant Leroy was in 1935 after Satchel Paige ditched the Crawfords. The Pittsburgh Courier said he was so good he made fans forget Satchel and his fastball. Anyone who could overshadow Satchel Paige was really special.
Got him swinging for the strikeout. And he strikes out the side here in the 8th. And we're back. We go to the 9th. Turkey Stearns stepping to the plate now. The line to kick the pitch. Swings through it, and that's a strikeout. So digging in, Perry. Fastball for a strike.
0-1.
Check swing, and he went. And it's 0-2.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Got him swinging. And they're down to their last out. So 2 down now, and here is Bradley. And immediately pumps in a strike to the left-handed hitter. Late with the swing there. Matlock is just 1 strike away. Ball game. Leroy Matlock is on a historic. All set for the start of the inning. And here is Fernandez. Matlock back to work. The pitch from Matlock. And that's in for a strike. Stays alive. On the ground. Fires over to first. So just 2 outs left to get for Matlock to keep this winning streak alive. And he takes a strike. That's in there. And the count is 0-2.
No ball, 2 strikes.
Swing and a miss. And he's down on strikes. And Matlock now just 1 out away. So they're down to their final out. Rap Dixon digging in now. That one finds the zone. And that's strike 1. They're down to their final strike. This could end it. Ball game. A strikeout finishes off the latest win.
Leroy Matlock had supreme confidence in his abilities. He seemed unflappable on the mound. Nothing seemed to rattle him. Nothing scared him. And he knew he could get guys out. And he did just that. Hall of Famer Buck Leonard would oftentimes say that Satchel Paige and Leroy Matlock were the toughest pitchers that he ever faced. And when you're in the same conversation with Leroy Satchel Paige, you got to be good. And Leroy Matlock was better than good. He was great.
Bottom of the 6th, and now Sanders. Leroy Matlock had an incredible reputation among his teammates and opponents. He showed up on a lot of all-time Negro League rosters, including one from Oscar Charleston, who was himself one of the greatest players ever.
2 strikes.
Up the middle, Waters. In plenty of time to first. Nice job by Matlock to get the better of Buck here. And here's the catcher, Smith. The other way. He's got it, and there's 2 away. And here is Newman.
After the career he had in Pittsburgh, it's nice to know that Leroy's legacy lives on there. He's part of an exhibit at PNC Park that honors the Pittsburgh Crawfords and Homestead Grays.
Swing and a high fly ball in the air left field. And Dixon hauls it in for the out. Set for the last half of the 7th. Buck Leonard digging in now.
Hee-haw. 0-1.
And a swing and a miss. So he picks up his 6th strikeout of the ball game. So up next, Perry. And that one fouled off. Swings through that one for strike 2.
0-2.
Strike 3, and that's 2 in a row. So digging in, Burns.
Zero balls, 1 strike. Ball.
Trying to hold a 1-run lead near the bottom of the 7th. Swing and a miss. So bases all loaded up. Murray will hit next. Matlock back to work.
Yeah!
Bases loaded, nobody
No
out.
ball, 1 strike.
Swing and a miss, and that's strike 2.
0-2.
Breaking ball in there, got him looking. Now Matlock only needs 1 out to escape this bases loaded jam. Now the left fielder, Glass. There's a strike.
Ha! Zero balls, one strike. Hit! No balls, two strikes.
Got him! The unflappable Leroy Matlock takes care of business and escapes unscathed. Now here is Mason. Delivers a pitch in for a strike at 95. Outside with a breaking ball. And a count 1-2. Struck him out. Leroy.
Beat up the block and the gun. I press a little button to open the wings. Ain't no advance in the deal I just signed. I don't need to labor controlling my strings.
An undefeated pitching season is virtually unheard of. The competition is always too stiff. The arduous challenges of moving around the country, the highways and byways, made it difficult not only for pitchers, but for all the players. It makes me wonder if they could have only focused on just their craft. Not having to worry about where they could get something to eat. Not having to worry about if they would find a place that would allow them to sleep. Just how great would they have been?
You couldn't eat in a restaurant. You couldn't travel on a train. Everything is segregated. The hotels, the theaters, the buses. Couldn't even get a white cab. You understand?
I marvel at what Leroy Matlock accomplished with an undefeated 1935 season and a string of consecutive wins that totaled 26. The great Pittsburgh Courier, one of the great African-American weekly papers of that era, coined, rightfully so, Leroy Matlock as the mighty Matlock. And it would be that same Pittsburgh Courier that would rank Leroy Matlock as one of the top pitchers in Negro Leagues baseball history, even above the great Leroy Satchel Paige. There's still hope that Leroy Matlock will one day gain his rightful place in the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Fetty the rest of digits. I found a way to go get it. Fetty the rest of digits. I found a way to go get it.
Leroy Matlock working in a tight spot here with the Crawfords in danger of surrendering this lead here in the 8th. Burns now at the plate, in for a strike, and it's 0-1.
I think Leroy Matlock belongs in any discussion of the best lefty pitchers in Negro League history. He could go toe-to-toe with Andy Cooper, Bill Foster, Sam Streeter, or Lefty Tion for sure.
Bullet Rogan digging in now. You know, with Matlock's short but brilliant career, I'm reminded of another great lefty, Sandy Koufax. Both of them had so much respect from their teammates and rivals. Strike 3, and that's 2 in a row. And now the center fielder, Bradley. And a swing and a miss. There's that slider.
No balls, two strikes.
Fans another, and that's 3 straight strikeouts. Welcome back to Greenleaf Field. Here's the catcher, Smith. Yeah, the pitch is in for a strike. It's 0-1. Right through there for a strike. Got him swinging. Sutter getting ready to hit.
Outside, that's a ball.
Matlock wheels and deals.
Yeah. One ball, two strikes. That's ball two. 2-2 now.
Swing and a ground ball up the middle. That's a base hit. And that'll bring the tying run to the plate. Digging in, Little. Swing and a miss. That's strike one.
0-1's the count.
With the tying run at the plate, here at the top of the ninth. Yeah, that's fouled off. Swing and a miss. That's a strikeout. Now only one out remaining. Pinch hitter coming on now in the pitcher spot. Newman. Big spot for him here. Fastball for a strike. Sutter, the runner at first with two gone. There's a strike. Foul ball, still 0-2. Got him, and that's the ball game. Leroy Matlock punctuates